Father's Day, 2nd September 1984. A swap meet at the Viking Tavern in Milperra, southwestern Sydney. Families, motorcycle enthusiasts. A Sunday morning. A 14-year-old girl named Leanne Walters is there with her father. She has no connection to any of what is about to happen. She is just there. What happens next takes less than 10 minutes. 7 dead, 28 wounded, shotguns, handguns, a machete, a pick handle, and a man lying on the car park ground with a bullet in his head. The same man who gave the order that morning to arm up and go to the Viking Tavern. The bloodiest day in the history of Australian outlaw motorcycle clubs. One decision, one morning, one man. The question this story leaves open is not who fired first. It is how a man who grew up in the Glasgow slums, cleared landmines in Libya, and built Australia's most feared motorcycle club from nothing, ended up on that car park floor, and how a 14-year-old girl ended up not going home.
Thank you for watching this video right now. We genuinely appreciate you being here. And if you find value in what we put together, a subscribe means everything to us. To research, verify, and build an investigation like this one takes an enormous amount of time. That one tap is what keeps us going. It is the reason we keep doing this. Now, let's go back to where this story actually starts. Glasgow, 1943. The Gorbals, one of the most notorious working-class neighbourhoods in Scotland, dense, poor, violent. Jock Ross grows up there. His father drives trucks. The neighbourhood teaches him one thing above everything else. In the old Glasgow days, you never backed off. That's how you survived. The Gorbals was tough, and you had to be tough too. At 17, he joins the British Army, Royal Engineers. 7 years of service, clearing landmines in Libya left over from the Second World War, laying minefields in the Aden Protectorate, modern-day Yemen. He is not a conventional soldier. He is an engineer of controlled destruction, a man trained to think in terrain, positioning, ambush, and the precise application of force. He leaves the army and moves to Sydney, works as a bouncer, a labourer. He finds the motorcycle scene. In 1966, he founds the Comanchero Motorcycle Club. He gives himself a title, not president, not chairman, supreme commander, a military title for a military mind. He runs the club like a unit, drills, hierarchy, lines of command, rules enforced with the discipline of 7 years in uniform. The Comancheros grow, they become feared. For nearly 2 decades, Jock Ross is the undisputed centre of gravity around which everything else orbits. Late 1983, a Comanchero member and his brother pay an unexpected visit to another member's house. What they find, according to the account later given by Colin Caesar Campbell, the club's sergeant-at-arms, is the club's president, Jock Ross, in a compromising position with the member's wife. Comanchero Rule 4 was unambiguous. Any member found guilty of being with another member's partner would be expelled. The problem was, the man who violated the rule was the man who wrote it. Caesar Campbell held Ross to the same standard he would have held anyone else. Ross was ordered to face consequences. The result was a rupture that could not be repaired. Campbell and a group of Comancheros broke away and became the founding chapter of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club in Australia, the first chapter outside the United States. 2 clubs, same city, same history, a specific personal humiliation at the centre of everything. Ross never accepted the split as legitimate. Across 1984, the tension built towards something that everyone in both clubs could feel coming. Whether the war was about turf, drugs, or the humiliation of a man who ran a club like an army and could not accept that the army had turned on him depends entirely on who you ask. The record does not settle it. Early morning, September 2nd, 1984. Jock Ross receives a phone call from his brother-in-law, Glenn Eves, also a Comanchero. The Bandidos rode past Eves' house, led by the Campbell brothers. Ross takes it as a personal insult. Then word comes through. The Bandidos will be at the swap meet at the Viking Tavern later that day. They are daring the Comancheros to show up. Ross phones his road captain, Robert Lane. The Band-Aids could be going to the swap meet. He assembles every available Comanchero.
He tells them they are going to Milperra with weapons, guns. Then, "Okay men, let's move it out." His wife Vanessa is holding their infant daughter Holly. She would prefer he spend Father's Day with his family. He tells her the Comancheros are more important. 19 armed men drive to Milperra. Ross has a plan, a military plan, based on the bullhorn ambush used in the Anglo-Zulu War. He will stand in the open as bait. Comancheros hidden on the flanks will close around the bandidos when they arrive. A tactic designed for a battlefield, applied to a pub car park in suburban Sydney on a Sunday morning while families are buying motorcycle parts inside. 1 p.m. The bandidos arrive late. Some Comancheros, thinking the confrontation is not coming, have gone inside the tavern. They are watching the Blues Brothers on the bar television. Ross is at the back of the tavern checking on a third club. His pincer movement has already collapsed before it started. Then the shooting starts in the car park. Kevork Tomasian stumbles into the tavern with his left arm almost severed by a shotgun blast. The patrons watching the film suddenly understand what is happening outside. Ross runs from the back, machete in one hand, pick handle in the other. Almost immediately, shotgun pellets hit his foot. He keeps moving. Then he is hit in the head, in the chest. He collapses. The military strategist who planned a Zulu war ambush is lying in a pub car park bleeding from a head wound. The bullet destroys part of his vision. From that day forward, he loses the ability to read and write. The fight runs for at least 10 minutes. Police helicopters circle overhead. More than 200 officers arrive after the shooting ends. 7 people are dead. 2 Comancheros killed by shotgun wounds, 2 more Comancheros shot with a Rossi .357 Magnum, 2 bandidos killed by shotguns, and Leanne Walters, 14 years old, a bystander, there with her father, dead. 28 people are wounded. Caesar Campbell shot 6 times, 6 weeks in intensive care. He checks himself out early, has 4 remaining shotgun pellets dug from his body by his wife, and flees to Western Australia. Bandido member John Whack Campbell never fully recovers. He dies in jail in 1987 from his injuries. The first police officer on the scene, Mark Pennington, receives $380,000 in compensation years later for the psychological damage of what he walked into that day. The Viking Tavern is eventually renamed the Mill Hotel. The court case that follows is, at the time, one of the largest in Australian history. Gun laws in New South Wales change permanently in its wake. Judge Roden is direct. Ross is one of the men most responsible for the shootout at the Viking Tavern. Life imprisonment. He serves 5 years and 3 months, released in 1992. After his release, the Comancheros continue under his nominal leadership, but the organisation is changing around him. In the late 1990s, facing pressure from the Australia 2000 Pact that had united 6 major gangs against smaller clubs, the Comancheros take in large numbers of young men with Middle Eastern backgrounds to build numbers. Many resent Ross's leadership. In 2002, Mahmoud Mick Harvey brings a group to Ross's house. Ross is unsuspecting. He is outnumbered. The meeting is short and violent. Harvey's group beats the much older man comprehensively. They take his colours. They take his Harley-Davidson. Australian policeman Duncan McNabb later writes it was the outlaw equivalent of spitting in Jock's face. In 2003, Harvey proclaims himself Supreme Commander. The man who built the club and gave himself that title, stripped of everything by the generation he created space for. In 2019, a journalist finds Jock Ross volunteering at the Spencer Rural Fire Service Brigade near Wiseman's Ferry, northwest of Sydney. In March 2019, he helps rescue a man and his dog from a burning house. In September 2019, a serious car crash, briefly in a coma. He survives. He is 76 years old. He has never expressed remorse for Milperra. Annie Brown wrote in 2001, Jock expressed no feelings of remorse and accepted no responsibility for the killings. In his militaristic mind, the dead were simply casualties of war. He still sees himself as a victim.
The Comancheros that Javi rebuilt from what Ross founded expanded into New Zealand, built methamphetamine supply chains that Operation Texas was still dismantling in 2026. The same name, a completely different organization, running on the ruins of what one man created on a Sunday morning in 1984, when he told his wife the club was more important than Father's Day. Here is what the story of Jock Ross actually shows. Not about gangs, not about gun laws, but about something that sits underneath all of it. A man can spend his entire life believing he is operating by a code. Ross had rules, written rules, a constitution, military discipline, a hierarchy built to enforce standards that he himself could not meet. And when the code was applied to him, he could not accept it. He spent the next year building toward a response that killed 7 people in a car park, including a girl who came to buy motorcycle parts with her father. The code did not fail on the day of the massacre. It failed the moment Ross decided that the rules applied to everyone except the man who wrote them. That pattern, a leader who builds a system of accountability and then exempts himself from it, is not unique to outlaw motorcycle clubs. It exists in every organization where power concentrates in one person long enough for them to forget that the rules were never just for everyone else. And the cost of that exemption is rarely paid by the person who made it. It was paid at Milperra by 6 people who understood the war they were in, and by Leanne Walters, who did not. For our community here in Aotearoa, the lesson is not about bikies or gun laws or the Australia 2000 Pact. It is about what happens when the person in charge decides the code does not apply to them. Every institution, every family, every organization, every community carries that risk. The question is not whether it will happen. It is whether the people around that person are willing to hold the line when it does. Caesar Campbell held the line. The war that followed cost 7 lives. There is no clean answer in that. Only the honest weight of what unaccountability actually costs, counted in names on a coroner's report. What do you reckon? When a leader exempts himself from his own rules, who ends up paying the price?